Welcome back for some more review. My name is Zach. In this episode, as always, we'll be taking a look at another 10 questions that may or may not help you pass your paramedic exam or other applicable test. So stay tuned for questions 81 through 90. My name is Zach, and this is Paramedic Zach. Alright guys, thanks again for joining, and let's jump right back into the flashcards with question 81. A generalized seizure, aka a grand mal seizure or blank seizure, involves blank percent of the brain. So a generalized seizure or a tonic-clonic seizure involves 100% of the brain. Moving on to question 82. Treat eclamptic seizures with blank at a dose of blank. So during pregnancy, more specifically the last 10 days of pregnancy, a phenomenon can occur where the patient becomes hypertensive. This is known as preeclampsia. This, if left untreated, can develop into eclamptic seizures, which need to be treated with magnesium sulfate at a dose of 4 to 6 grams over a period of 15 minutes. This can be done by injecting the magnesium sulfate into a 100 cc bag of normal saline and delivering 1 to 2 drops every second with a 15 drop set. Moving on to question 83. When blood enters the lungs for oxygenation but cannot due to non-functional alveoli, it is called blank. So if the lungs cannot oxygenate the blood due to non-functional alveoli, the phenomenon is called intrapulmonary shunting. Moving on to question 84. What does this N-tidal carbon dioxide waveform represent? So when you see this waveform on your N-tidal, it's going to represent bronchospasm. Question 85. How do you measure a French catheter for suction from an ET tube? So the general rule of thumb is not to advance a French catheter more than half a centimeter past the end of the endotracheal tube. You may need to use patient landmarks in order to estimate this distance. What you can do is place the end of the suction catheter to the end of the endotracheal tube and wrap it around the patient's ear down to the suprasternal notch. This is the maximum distance that you're going to want to suction this patient. Next question is 86. Name the receptor. It increases heart contractility and output and does not compromise the renal and mesenteric artery dilation. So this receptor is the dopaminergic receptors. Question 87. What is your pediatric bradycardia atropine dose and max dose? So if you have a pediatric patient that is bradycardic and relatively stable, you can try administering a dose of atropine. This is going to be at 0.02 milligrams per kilogram to a max dose of 0.5 milligrams. Moving on to question 88. Blank occurs when sodium is pumped out of the cell to create an electrical gradient. So this phenomenon is known as polarization. Question 89. Do not shock a patient in PEA or pulseless electrical activity or asystole, and instead do CPR and give blank every blank to blank minutes. So for your PEA and asystole algorithms, you do not shock your patient and instead give a dose of epinephrine at a dose of 1 milligram of a 1 in 10,000 concentration every 3 to 5 minutes. And lastly, we have question 90. True or false? Colloid solutions are hypertonic. So colloid solutions are solutions that contain microscopic particles that make the solution hypertonic. This allows the solution to pull fluids from the extracellular and interstitial spaces to re-expand the cardiovascular system's blood volume. So that is going to do it for this episode. Now that I have a few of these rapid fire review episodes out, I'm going to jump back to episode 4, which is questions 31 through 40, and put together a part 2. In part 2, we'll take a look at each individual question in depth and go over more of the why of the answers. Thank you again for joining. If you got anything good out of this episode, please do me a favor and just hit the like button. It's super easy and it helps me out a lot. And if you'd like to get these videos regularly to help you pass your exam, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys for joining, and I'll see you next time.